Hi, ladies. Welcome. Um, well, I'm very excited to do this call, even though hopefully you guys can hear me okay, because I am getting over a cold, so I don't have a lot of voice to me. But we are in a new training cycle, and this one is really exciting to me because we have changed a lot of things, added a lot of things this cycle, and so I wanted to use this call to kind of talk through that. Also, just talking about training for training for building muscle and what is important and what matters most. And then also with our training, some things to consider, how to kind of map out your week. So we're just going to talk a little bit about all of it. I have this email from Sunday up because I wanted to make sure I didn't miss anything. But as hopefully you all know, HF Physique is built around hypertrophy. So when I started HF Physique, 5 years ago, about I it was really important to me to have to give our clients, we were working with a lot of clients with nutrition. A lot of our clients wanted to transform their bodies, and most of them were training in a way that was not supporting that. Doing random workouts, doing maybe a lot of high intensity, which isn't a bad thing, but it wasn't serving their goals of wanting to transform their bodies, wanting to build muscle, wanting to change the shape maybe of their physique. So we were able to really do a lot on the nutrition side with fat loss. Um, but it was really like challenging to not have kind of control of our clients' training, because that is going to be a huge stimulus for body transformation, right? Nutrition is very important, and you can do a lot with nutrition in terms of feeling your best, really improving your health, seeing fat loss, as well as supporting muscle growth. But if you don't have the right training stimulus, then that's going to be hard to do. And most of our clients coming to us were, I would say, and are under muscled. And so I started HF Physique. I also was coming off of a CrossFit kind of training background, very performance based. And I was already really passionate about lifting to build muscle as it was for my own personal life. I was having so much fun, like seeing such great progress with my physique goals, and also recognizing that like I wasn't killing myself in the process to do that. I didn't need to train to exhaustion or, just like really kill myself in the gym to see a lot of transformation happening with my body. So that was really exciting for me. So I started writing HF Physique we started with clients, and then for all of our members. And I wanted it to be something we could offer to everyone. And since then, we've continued to evolve with our programming so that we have a program that serves women ideally in every season of life. So whether that you're at home with little ones and you can't get to the gym, or you have time to get to the gym and want to really maximize in terms of like exercise selection for isolation work or building certain muscles. We wanted our members to be able to really do that no matter where they were, and to have that be interchangeable. So maybe you can go to the gym a couple days a week, but then you're training at home the rest of the week. So I wanted a program that kind of fit what I need, but then also what our most of our clients need, which is similar. So that is how we started with the home and gym options. And then a lot of our clients don't have 60 minutes to train. So we wanted to have the 30-minute option as well. And so that's where we have evolved kind of as time has gone on. And then I personally, I don't lift 4 to 5 days a week at this point. I like to do more of a full body track. So we were switching back and forth between full body and upper lower splits, because we have people that are obviously passionate about both. And so we've kind of alternated over the years. If you've been with us a long time, you've seen that. But we wanted to have that full body cycle option be permanent. And so we decided to include that this month for this training cycle. And we've also um we some people loved Fit Foundations, and that is essentially what we're hoping to replace or up level basically. So if you have minimal equipment, you can still do the 3 day a week full body. Do it at home with minimal equipment. You can do the 30-minute option, so it more mimics the Fit Foundations. And we wanted something that is that could be used for beginners, but also could be used if you're more advanced too and just have less time in your week, or have different goals. So we have that. And then, as you know, we do have HF Husband, which obviously you can use if you're not a male training, but it's going to be more upper body focused. And then with my most recent passion of training for high rocks, and I know a lot of people are really excited about high rock style training too, we added in a high rocks day on Saturdays. So we've kind of just really up leveled everything with HF Physique, and I'm so excited about it. We also have brought more mobility and muscle activation to our warm ups, and we've taken the intensity down on warm ups so that we can really bring that to our lifting. Um, so I hope that everyone um, has noticed kind of the shift that we've made and is just as excited about it as we are. And speaking of building muscle, I wanted to just talk a little bit about like what matters most. So that's kind of what my email was about this past week. But mechanical tension is queen when it comes to hypertrophy. So mechanical tension refers to the force your muscles produce under load. To grow our muscles, we need to train in a zone where our muscle fibers are actually challenged. And I put the caveat there of like without hitting failure every session, because if we're hitting failure every session, that might, I mean, that's going to tax our muscles to grow, but it's going to make it really hard to recover, and it's also going to really impact our general nervous system. So we're not going to be able to bring that intensity every training session if we're training to failure. So we want to kind of balance that, not training to failure, but not just like showing up and lifting the same weight every week and checking that box without a lot of intensity. We want to really be in that near failure range, with 1 to 3 reps in reserve for most of our working sets. And then ideally, we want our programming to be repeatable in the sense of we want to be able to progressively overload week to week. So when we are tracking our weight, that we're lifting, and we're paying attention to our reps, we're paying attention to our reps in reserve, we're able to actually make make improvements each week and lift more or lift. There's kind of a few ways to think of progressive overload, and that might mean you're adding weight each week. That might mean you're adding reps. That might mean you are more controlled under tempo. That might mean you have better range of motion. So all of these things are going to be like we're progressively getting better in a multiple areas when we're lifting. And I think some of us can feel really frustrated if we're not lifting like 5 more pounds every week. That's just not realistic for most of us. Um, and so if we can get another rep, then that's really exciting too. And I wanted to talk a little bit about that. I'll stop screen sharing for just a second here so that um, we can just chat. But talking about rep schemes, reps in reserve, and load progression. So every exercise within HF Physique has a rep range. And we've done that so you can kind of auto regulate like where you're at on intensity and training to that 1 to 3 reps in reserve. So if you're noticing that you're hitting, let's say the rep scheme is 8 to 12 reps, and you're hitting 12 reps and you feel like you still have a few reps left in the tank before you would hit failure, then I would definitely increase weight so that you end up maybe closer to that eight reps on that exercise before you're hitting in that 1 to 3 reps in reserve. And that's sort of the sweet spot. So use that rep range to regulate like your intensity and how hard the exercise is for you. And always add, if you hit 12 and you're like, I still feel pretty good, keep going until you get to that 1 to 3 reps in reserve, and then use that information for your next set to probably throw 10s on each side or 15s on each side so that you can be on the lower end of that rep range. And how I like to train week to week, if the rep range is 8 to 12, I mean, I'm always trying to hug the lower end of that rep range, because for me, that's going to usually yield better recovery the fewer reps that I'm doing. So play around with that. And I feel like too, for me, the higher I get on that rep range, a lot of times my form starts to go if I'm just getting really high on reps. So I like to hug the lower end of that rep range, but typically it's hard to add weight every week. So if I'm doing um, Bulgarian split squats with, let's say I have 50-pound dumbbells and I'm hitting 12 reps on an 8 to 12 rep scheme, then I'm probably going to try to go up to 55s the next week. And I know I'm going to be closer maybe to that 8 to 10 rep range, which feels really good for me. And I would probably continue to add weight until I feel like, okay, I'm only getting 6 reps. Then that's a good indication of like, all right, I'm gonna lower the weight down a little bit so I'm closer to that 8 rep range for next week. So maybe I'll go down 5 pounds. And one thing to keep in mind when we're looking at our progressive overload is we're gonna have weeks where we're sick. We're gonna have a really hard, maybe heavier like cycle one month. We're gonna be traveling. And so I think paying attention to your weight, your reps, how it felt, and maybe just making a note of that each week. But then also keeping in mind you're not always gonna feel 100%, and that's okay too. So if maybe you lifted 60 pounds for 10 reps last week and this week it's like 50 is 9 out of 10 on the exertion. That's okay. So don't get frustrated with yourself. Like your progress is not going to be linear. We're not just going to always be just increasing every single week. But using your data as an opportunity to give you feedback so that you can make adjustments, and also paying attention to how you feel. Like, okay, I feel like garbage today. I'm not going to stress myself out and try to PR all of my lifts. I'm just going to go and I'm going to track it and I'm going to push myself and I'm going to make a note of that and know that that is going to help move the needle in the direction that I want to go with building muscle. So I think that is something to keep in mind. And then I wanted to talk a little bit about how to like choose your training split with the 3-day week option, with the 4-day week option. I would say most of our most of our members coming in, especially if you're new to lifting, 3 days a week is what I would recommend. Even doing 3 days a week, 30-minute option is going to be fantastic for you. And as you feel like you're able to recover really well from that, then you could add a fourth day. Probably my favorite split would be the 3-day week full body and then adding the glute emphasis day. But if you felt like you wanted to do more full body volume and you had the time and you felt like you were recovering really well, you could bump that 30-minute option up to 60. Or you could do the 60 twice a week, the 31 day a week. Or if you wanted to really prioritize upper body, you could do the 3 days a week plus an upper body day, or the HF husband day. So keeping in mind, like you don't need to do the same training split as someone else. There's a lot of room for kind of building your own choose your own adventure with HF Physique, which can be overwhelming to some. But it should be really exciting because you have a lot of flexibility and you can adjust week to week. Like maybe you're traveling, you can change up from going to the upper lower splits and getting those 3 full body days in. Maybe you're having a hard time recovering or you want to do more endurance based work, then you can switch that up. I have a friend that's having a lot of back pain right now and she wants to really prioritize more core and mobility, so she's going to Pilates 3 days a week. So she's so excited to do the 3-day week full body so she can still work on building muscle, but it's not too much volume to add in the Pilates with her upper lower 4-day week split. So there's so much. Like me personally, I'm training for high rocks right now, so I'm doing less weight training to accommodate for the higher running volume, but I want to maintain muscle, so I'm doing the glute day and a full body day, and that's enough for me to maintain, kind of what I need without doing too much volume. So hopefully that helps. Start with the 3-day week, 30 minutes. If that feels good, you could bump up to 60 or add a day, upper, lower, or glutes, or husband, or sprints, or high rocks. There's a lot of options there. And I also wanted to talk a little bit about the warm-ups.
One thing,
Yeah.
Melissa had a question. I thought that
Oh,
would be great to answer
yes,
now.
I did see that. Can you explain why you like full body versus upper lower? So I think this is going to be very personal, right? I like doing the upper. So if I were to train 4 days a week, for me personally, I like doing the full body plus glutes because then I'm just getting a little bit more glute volume. And when I'm training lower body, it's not so intense. For me, sometimes going into a lower body day, if it's all lower body, I feel a little overwhelmed because it's just a lot. Like when I'm lifting lower body, I'm breathing hard. It just exhausts me more. So if I know, okay, I only have to get in 2 to 3 lower body lifts, then I get to move to upper body. For me mentally, that's a lot easier. And I can do that every day. Or not every day, but I can do that every other day. And that feels really good to me. And I'm able to do pretty much the same amount of work in my week. It's just more frequency there. So I think it comes down a lot of times to just personal preference too. I have a lot of friends and clients that love to just only hit lower body, and like it feels so good to just have like a really hard session. I personally, with just life demands and stressors, I like to do it more frequently with less volume in the day. So that's why I like that. I also don't have time I'm not lifting 4 days a week right now. So if I'm able to do the full body, then I know I can get a pretty well-rounded, good amount of volume each day versus like doing two lower and just one upper. I can hit some upper body every session too. Um, so hopefully that helps. It's really going to come down to personal preference and your goals. Um, you're going to get, obviously, if you're training 4 days a week, you're going to do more volume than if you're training 3 days a week. So the 3 day a week full body is kind of a way to still hit full all of your muscle groups, but just a little less volume. And it's just a little bit easier for a lot of people to fit into their schedule and recover from. So that's essentially why you would choose one or the other. And then sprints on the app. Also, what's the difference between sprints and high rocks? Yes, so sprints are on Wednesdays, and you can just select that and do those on Wednesdays. That's going to be actual like running, or you can do them on anything. So it's going to be interval based work, which you could do on the treadmill, you could do on the rower, you can do on the ski erg, with the goal of training in the higher heart rate zones and building cardiovascular endurance. High rocks is going to be similar in terms of energy systems used, but it's going to also incorporate weights, high rock style movements. So like we did movements that are going to be, we don't do a lot of sled because that's hard for most people to incorporate, but like wall balls, burpees, box jumps, different things that are going to be more compatible to a high rocks workout, high rocks race. So if you don't know what that is, you can look up a high rocks race, but it's just a really popular race right now that a lot of people are doing. And so people are wanting that style of training so that they can practice that and be prepared for a race. So we have, it's I don't want to say it's a CrossFit style workout, but it's a little bit like a minimal equipment CrossFit style workout, I would
Feels
say.
like it's inspired from CrossFit at least.
I think so, for sure,
Yeah.
with a lot more running usually.
Yeah.
So that is what we're programming on Saturdays as optional. And also, I think this goes without saying, but I feel like I need to say it because every once in a while we'll have someone that's like, how am I going to do all of these workouts? Um, you don't have to do anything extra. You can do one full body day a week or two full body days a week, or you can do just the cardio sprints and high rocks. There's so many different ways to format your week with our programming. So try not to get overwhelmed. It's just different options. And if you're having a hard time figuring out how to structure your week based on your goals and recovery, then ask in the groups, and we're happy to help you with that as well.
Because
Yeah,
So
I think that's a really important point to drive home. It's like the answer is you're not. No, almost nobody should be doing all like two uppers, two lowers, glutes, and high rocks and sprints. And the answer is you're not. It's
no,
like
it's not
figuring
the
out what works
purpose.
for you. And then if
yes.
you do have a one-on-one coach, that's where you can really like chat with them and figure out what's most important to you, what's your capacity, and go from there. But the short answer is you're not. I've had a couple clients be like, oh my, like this is a lot of programming. Like what, how do I like, no, you're not. No, these are options.
Yes. Um, Absolutely, especially since I would say very few of our clients are 20 years old. Like we have a lot going on in terms of mental load, life demands, stressors. So your training should benefit you in terms of like giving back to you. And if you're constantly tired, constantly like starving, having a hard time sleeping, you're sore all the time, you're doing way too much. So these are fun options. Um, but just know like the more intense, like high rocks, sprints, cardio you're adding to your week, the less you're probably going to be able to do on the lifting side. And so that's okay. Like goals shift, and also what you feel like doing is going to change in different seasons too. And so just knowing like total volume matters. So generally speaking, I think most people do great lifting 3 to 4 days a week with cardio maybe 1 to 3 days a week in there. And that's not like sprints for all 3 sessions, right? So that's probably looking like maybe 1 or 2 zone 2 sessions and that's it, or 1 or 2 zone 2s and maybe a sprint workout. And I also think starting with the 30-minute lifts, like I, me personally, I mean, I'm not really trying to build a lot of muscle right now. I spent 20 years doing that. I mostly want to maintain when I train right now. But I almost always do. I'll do kind of like a either 30-minute option or between the 30 and 60. I'll look at the 60 and I'll cut it down a little bit based on my personal needs. So just know if you're a beginner, that might feel overwhelming. So just ask us. Like, we're so happy to help you with how to structure your week based on your goals. And then obviously, like one-on-one coaching is going to be phenomenal for building programming around your goals and that in a way to support recovery and biofeedback. More usually isn't better. Most of the women we work with are pretty high achieving as it is, and it's not usually a matter of like let's do more. It's usually a matter of let's be more intentional with what we are doing so that we can really maximize progress on minimum dose needed. So, if you're the type of person that's like, "Wait, it's a rest day. Like what am I supposed to do on a rest day? I like to lift every day." That's a good opportunity to think about how your body would benefit from more recovery, because that's really where we're growing is in recovery. Having those recovery days allow us to rebuild and get stronger and bring a lot more intensity to our training. So intentional over doing too much basically is always going to benefit you. And those are options, and maybe you utilize those in a season where you feel like you have more to give and you don't touch them in other seasons. So I am very excited for those of you that are just joining. If you have any questions, please ask them. There's no such thing as a dumb question. And for those of you that are longtime OGs to HF Physique, we're so excited to hear about all of your wins as well. So please share those because we love to see them. So hopefully everyone has a great week. We are launching our Black Friday sale for one-on-one coaching here this week, and I am very excited about that. We only do it twice a year, Mother's Day, Black Friday. So stay tuned for that on one-on-one coaching. And thank you so much for joining. Any other questions that anyone has on training cycle?
That was great.
Hey, well, let us know if you have any PRs. Let us know if you have trouble with the movement. There are a couple new exercises that we haven't done before. So one, I was going to say really quickly, that I have noticed people having a hard time is it's called two different things. It's the glute med hip thrust or glute med abduction. It's the standing one. Um, and I wanted to talk a little bit about that these last couple of minutes. So this is like, I wasn't really planning on doing this, but I'm gonna just share. Can you guys see me okay? This is not the best spot to do it, but on that glute med, I wanted to show you guys really quick. So your standing leg is your working leg. I think that's probably better. And when you hold on to something just for its stability, you're sinking in, you're kind of leaning into this hip to really stretch this glute med. So if it helps to hold on to that and start body weight, most people would benefit from starting this movement body weight, not banding it or adding weight, just so you can get that mind muscle connection, because I'm noticing a lot of people are feeling it in this glute, or they're having a hard time lifting with the weight, like they can come to here. So I want you to pay attention to that. As you lean in, you'll feel a good stretch on this glute, and the goal is to drive here. So as you're driving through that standing leg glute med, this knee is going to come up, and this knee is coming up just to allow for this hip right here to contract. So this muscle is squeezing or contracting here. So if you're doing like this, then you're definitely going to feel it in this leg, right? I'm not moving this hip at all. So hold here, try this body weight this week, shift in, get a good stretch, and then drive up and pause and feel if that glute is really contracted. That's what we really want to see with this glute med hip thrust, is getting a good stretch and driving. Okay. So if you can't do that with a band or a plate, then just start with body weight and just keep going until you feel like you've hit that 1 to 3 RIR. And then do that for a couple weeks and then add weight. It's one that I think is a little harder initially to get that mind muscle connection. Like slow it down, pause at the top, and get a feel for that glute med. And then once you have that, start loading it. It's really like when I very first tried it, I was a little frustrated with it. I'm like, I don't know about this movement. And then I brought it back just to body weight, just to make sure I could get that mind muscle connection. Like I'm feeling it in that working leg glute med, that outer glute. And now it's one of my very favorite exercises because it's so easy to overload. It takes minimal equipment. And it's really easy to like progress week to week on and get heavier. And then I think, so if you guys have any questions on that, or if you're like not sure if you're doing it right, just post a video to the group and we're happy to take a look. If building muscle, how does HF Physique cycle through training cycles? Can you keep doing back-to-back blocks of hypertrophy, or does it focus on other things throughout the year? Yeah, so you can continue to do back-to-back hypertrophy. The issue is if like you're doing the same exercises, same rep schemes for over 6 months, you're probably going to plateau and it's going to be also like very boring for you. So that's why we switch up exercises every 6 to 12 weeks. And also the rep scheme for hypertrophy is really anywhere from like 4 to 30. So we'll do some higher rep schemes, some lower rep schemes, to also help to push through plateaus, because it gets really challenging. Like if you're just lifting 8 reps, same exercise every week, it gets really hard to increase weight at some time. So changing the reps can be really helpful. Changing the order of movements can be really helpful. So we'll do a lot of that. We're targeting muscle groups, and there's multiple exercises that can be used to target those same muscle groups. So that's where we'll switch up exercises, switch up orders, switch up maybe add tempo, doing different things there too, with the same goal is building muscle throughout the year. One thing I will say that we don't do in HF Physique is program deload weeks, because everyone is so different. And I think everyone should be taking probably at least 4 deload weeks a year. So that's something to keep in mind too. If you haven't done a deload week for a long time, like take a week and get outside of the gym. Or you can stay in the gym and do really lightweight, but give yourself a week of like kind of different movement rest. And that's going to be really helpful too for nervous system, for hypertrophy, for recovery, and just long-term health and longevity. So that is one thing I would recommend doing on your own. Usually, like if you're taking a vacation, if you're sick, there's like a lot of opportunities for deloads that just happen with life. But that's one thing I would recommend as well. And HF Physique 2 with all of the options allows for you to have a different focus on your own whenever you do want to have that. So if you want to maybe cut back a little bit on lifting and just focus on maintaining and add in more cardio and make that a priority. I love to do that in the summers so that I can take advantage of like getting outside more. Here in the winter, I really like to focus on building muscle more and having more volume in my weightlifting because it's just cold and gloomy outside. And so it's like that's when I like to really push it in the gym more. And so structuring your year based on your goals and also your preferences, I think really helps a lot with longevity of movement too. So hopefully that's helpful as well. Thank you so much for joining, everyone. Thanks for bearing through my cold, stuffed up nose, but we're excited to have all of you. And as always, ask us if you have any questions, and we'll be chatting next week. Thanks so much.